Hello, my fellow comic book collectors. Today is Saturday, and on Saturdays, I've been doing my top 100 comics in my collection, and this is part 8. So we're getting down to the final top 30 books in my collection, and these books are around the $3,400 to $4,000 mark. So they're just sort of in that area. These books are just awesome books. Some of them are quite rare, and others are pretty common, but just have a huge market for them. So I'm going to get into the books, show you what I mean. And the first one is one of the rarer ones of the collection. Um, it is New York World's Fair number, actually nothing. There's no number to it. It's from 1939. It is one of the first early books of the Golden Age. It is actually an early appearance of Superman. In it, you actually see Superman on the cover here, and he's blonde-haired, which is kind of interesting. But this comic is really quite cool because it is also the first appearance of the Sandman. So the Golden Age Sandman, which is different from the Neil Gaiman Sandman, but this is the origin of that character in the first appearance of that character. It is just an incredibly rare book. So it says, first published appearances of the Sandman, blonde-haired Superman on the cover, Zatanna and Slam Bradley stories. I don't know who Sam Bradley is, but he's in it. So just kind of a cool book. This is from the New York World's Fair, obviously. And it was 25 cents, which was big money at the time. If you think about it, back at then, there was like nickel comics and a 10-cent comic. So this was a pretty pricey book. So it's quite rare as a result. It's got a really great back cover as well. So this book goes for about $3,400. But there has been recent sales of $3,800. So it's hard to say really. I valued it based on when I compiled the list, which was a couple months ago. So the prices have gone different, have changed, and you'll see that on a few of these. This one has only 74 on the census as blue labels, and there's 106 total on the census. Okay, the next book is one that isn't slabbed. It's one of my few expensive books that isn't slabbed. It is Walt Disney Comics and Stories. This is the first. This is number one. This is the one where it starts it all. So, so this one has the first appearance of Daisy, and it's just a really great book. It's not the first appearance of Donald Duck. That he actually appeared earlier. It's not the first appearance of Mickey or any of those characters, but it is the first appearance of Daisy Duck. And they didn't refer to her as Daisy. Actually, she had a different name in the book. So, but it's kind of cool still. My copy is pretty rough. You can see that it's kind of got mangled here. It's got a rip. If it wasn't for that, it would be a much higher grade. Sadly, because of the rip, I graded it at a 2.0. Okay, so it might grade higher, but I think it's probably a fair grade. So based on that, though, this book would sell for, I have to check my notes. This book would sell for around $3,400, and there's only 100 on the census and 133 altogether. So this is one of those books that probably could use some nice conservation, but it is a great book. So this one is Disney Comics and Stories number 1, and it goes for about $3,400. Okay, the next book is not as rare, but it is one that it's just supply and demand. This book has a huge demand for it. When I bought it, it was actually a very undervalued book, and it has since gone up a lot, considerably in value. This is Daredevil number 1. It's in a 2.5. It's a low grade. But even in this low grade, it commands big prices. So I paid about $700 for it when I picked it up. Now it goes for around $3,500, and it has dropped a little bit since I rechecked the census data, and the data for the fair market value, and there was recent sales of 3,400, so it's dropped a little bit, but it is a book that is kind of a Silver Age grail, in my opinion. First appearance of Daredevil, first appearance of Foggy Nielsen. It's just one of those books that is definitely one that people collect and seek. And as Daredevil gets more commonly used in the MCU, he just recently appeared in the Spider-Man movie, not as Daredevil, but as his alter ego. But it is one that I think will have long-term potential. This book goes for, as I said, 35. I estimated it at 3,500. There are 4,558 copies on the census, and then that's blue labels, and then there's another. The total census is like 5,665 copies. So this is a pretty common book compared to those Golden Age books, but there's just so much more demand for it, so it commands bigger money. Okay, so the next one is kind of a cool book. This one's a bit rarer again. This is another sort of a atomic age. It's between the Golden Age and the Silver Age. This is Detective Comics 225, and it is the first appearance of Martian Manhunter. And this book also goes for about $3,500, and there are 265 on the census in blue label, and 307 altogether. So it's a fairly rare book compared to the other ones that we saw. If Martian Manhunter gets a little bit more usage in terms of the DCU, you could see this book going up in value. I mean, I think Martian Manhunter is a very cool character. He's actually my son's second favorite character after Swamp Thing. And he's just a really cool character. He was used in the Snyder Cut for Justice League. So, they did use him. It's just not officially, I guess. So yeah, this is the first appearance of Martian Manhunter from 1955 and Detective Comics 225. And it goes for about $3,500. So these are all pretty much the same value. The next one is one that is kind of interesting. There's really no fair market value that's associated to it. I estimated it at what I estimated at. I estimated at $3,500. This is a Little Dot #1. Now this is a very cool book, very hard to find. There are, let me just see. There are only 40 on the census, 40 altogether, 43 altogether. So it's really a rare book. But it is the first appearance of Richie Rich. So it's kind of a cool book, one that Richie Rich fans will definitely seek. It's also the first appearance of Little Lotta. And so it's Richie Rich and Little Lotta's first appearance. Just a really cool book because it's just so rare, and it is the first appearance of Richie Rich. Now, Richie Rich did have a movie, but really most people kind of are fans of him because of his TV series and also the comics. I mean, his comics have been running since this book came out, which is 1953. So they've been continuously running Richie Rich comics. So just a really great series. I like Richie Rich. I'm a big fan. So this is Little Dot #1 from 1953, and it's a 2.5, and as I said, it goes for about $3,500. Okay, but it's one that actually I've seen. If you go to eBay right now, you'll see the same book for around $5,000. And then there's one grade that's a half grade higher that's selling for $8,000. So it's one of those ones where there's just so rare that people basically ask whatever they want for it. Now, the next book is not rare. Again, this is kind of an interesting list because there's some books that are super rare and there's others that are not so rare. And it's really Golden Age versus Silver Age. And this is a Silver Age book, but it's not rare. It is a very sought after book, though, because Avengers, their popularity is super high right now. And this is Avengers #1, and it's the first time that we see the Avengers assemble, right? As a team. And yeah, this is from 1963, and this is a low grade, but even in this low grade, because of the popularity of the show and the movies that came out, it's just an expensive book. Typically, this book will go for about $3,800. Now, it has pulled back a little bit since I did this original like Excel document that I've created for this. They're selling for around $3,500 now. So the price has pulled back a bit, but I expect it to go back up once, more things are done with the Avengers. But it's one that people will always love. Now, this is a book that isn't rare, as I was saying. There's about 3,600 on the census and 4,900 total graded. So there's a lot that are restored. The next book, again, so it's like almost like alternating between the Silver Age and Golden Age. This is a Golden Age book, and it is one that recently became a fairly hot book. So it's really interesting for a Golden Age book to become hot, but this book became super hot. This is Marvel Family #1. This is the first appearance of the Marvel family, but it's also the first appearance, actually not the first appearance of the Marvel family. Baby Marvel, okay, I'll read what it is because I'm going to mess it up if I say the wrong thing here. It's the first appearance of and origin of the Black Adam. So that's the big thing. That's the reason why it has exploded in terms of popularity. It's the first appearance of Baby Marvel. I don't know who Baby Marvel is. And it has an Uncle Marvel appearance. This is not the first appearance of Uncle Marvel, though. But this is the first issue of Marvel Family Comics. So this is Marvel Family Comics #1. And it even says right down there, Black Adam. But this is the only time that the Black Adam actually even appeared in the Golden Age. He was brought back into comics in the Bronze Age, in DC Comics. So they bought the rights to Fawcett, and he was brought over into DC Comics. So he basically reappeared in, I believe it's I always mess up the number. I believe it's 26, and I'm probably wrong. I always mess it up. It's 26 or 27. I believe it's 26. So Shazam 26. But this one is very cool because it's from 1945, and it's a 1/8. And in that grade, it goes for about $3,800. There are 133 on the census in Blue Label and 144 total on the census. The next book is another rare Golden Age book, and this one is actually rarer than its predecessor. So this is Sensation Comics #2, and Sensation Comics #1, which is the big grail for Wonder Woman, is actually more common than this book. This is a fairly rare book. There's only 31 on the census in the Blue Label and 36 total. It is a major key, and it's a really hard book to find. Very, very little sales data about it. It's one of those books where people just basically say what the price is, and that's the price. I estimated the price for this one to be around $3,800 in this grade. It is a first appearance, so it's kind of cool. It's the first appearance of Etta Candy, and it's the second appearance of Wildcat and Black Pirate. So Etta Candy, just so you know, if you're not familiar with the character, she did make an appearance in the movies. She was in the first Wonder Woman movie. She's the one that's kind of short, pudgy girl. That was the secretary. That's Etta Candy. And Etta Candy is kind of like Wonder Woman's sidekick. So just sort of like Batman's Robin kind of idea. But just a great book. Sensation Comics #2 from 1942. Just a wonderful book. And yeah, it's Marston Finger and Fox stories, Sheldon Moldoff, and Orwin Henson art. Oh, Hassan art. Okay, so just kind of cool. And you got good weightlifting or bodybuilding things on the back. Okay, so that's Sensation Comics #2. The next book, which is my 22nd most expensive book, is one that most people wouldn't be as familiar with, but there are just a lot of collectors that seek this book. It is like a hot book within Golden Age collectors. It is Blue Beetle #34, and this is a Jack Kamen cover, but it's also a book that was mentioned in The Seduction of the Innocent. It is a very sought after book, and because of that, it commands big money. So this one is a 3.5. It's from Fox Syndicate, and it's actually Fox produced kind of sensational comics where they had a bit of a sexiness to them. You can tell that when they originally did the art for it, you can see how her back is bare. It's bare, which would imply that she's not wearing anything in the front, but you can see her reflection in the front. So I think that they realized that maybe they went a little bit too far, and they gave her a bra. So I think that's kind of interesting. So that's Blue Beetle #34. And this book goes for about, I believe, $4,000? Yeah, $4,000. And there are 64 on the census and 67 total on the census. So 64 blue label, 67 total graded copies. But it is one that really you don't see very often at auction. And whenever it goes on auction, it just goes up to it's always a new record when it goes on, because it's a book that collectors will jump on when they can get it. Okay, the next book is the last on my list, and this is the 21st book on my top 100 books of all time, or in my collection in terms of value. This book has become really hot, and this book was much lower on my list. Like, I paid like $500 for it, and it has skyrocketed since. But this is Journey into Mystery #84, and this is the second appearance of Thor. It is also the first appearance of Jane Foster, which has really made it the book that is popular right now, because there is the Thor Love and Thunder movie coming out as I record this. But probably by the time this video airs, the movie will be out. Hopefully it's good and this book will continue to rise. If not, I expect this book to probably drop in price. But that's Jane Foster right there. So this is the first appearance of Jane Foster. And what else? It's Steve Ditko art, Jack Kirby cover, and Stan Lee's story. So it is the first appearance of Jane Foster and second appearance of Thor, and it's white and off-white pages. So it's actually got pretty good page quality. And it really does show quite nicely. I was actually kind of disappointed by the grade. I thought I was going to get a higher grade, because it is quite nice. Okay, that book is a great Silver Age book, and because it's Silver Age, it's a little bit more common. There are 953 total graded copies and 830 blue labels on the census. So it's a bit more common, but it goes for about $4,100. And the price has actually dropped a bit since I initially did this list, and it's hovering around that $3,800. So give or take between $3,800 and $4,000. So I had seen sales which would indicate $4,100. So that's why I priced it the way I did. Okay, so that has been my top 30, I guess from number 30 to 21 on my list. I hope you enjoyed this video. There's 2 more parts left and we're getting into the really, really big books. So I hope you enjoy these videos. Stay tuned. Each Saturday I will air a different set of books. So yeah, hope you enjoy that. Thanks again for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Bye for now.